All right, well, I'd like to welcome everybody to the BlackandNobel bookstore. My name is Elijah Mckinley, Esquire. I'm a hip-hop artist and an entertainment attorney, born and raised in the city of Philadelphia.
Yes.
I went to a few different public schools. I went to Henry Houston, Shawmont, Levering. Then I ended up at a Quaker private school, got a scholarship at Germantown Friends. And that changed my life because it put me on a path to a higher education, and it gave me the training I needed to get into college. And when I went to college, first thing I realized, well, let me before I jump to that, in high school, I was already big into rapping and rhyming and producing music and writing poetry, and everything I learned in school I would turn into a song. So like we had classes on Vietnam, and then I would write songs about Vietnam. I can still remember one of the verses. It was the Vietnam and the Viet Cong changed me from Cheech and Chong to a freaking bomb. This one weekend in Nam, Mom sent me a letter speaking on how I was cheated on by this John back home. I needed weed in my palm. Oh shit, gunshots, let me put my shit on. I shouldn't be here, I should be at the prom. Feeling skirmish, wish I never lost my 2S deferment. They thought our father said, how'd it go? Our fathers say this war will make us furnish, but a purple heart ain't nothing earnest. So I peeped around a tree, slow and easy to see the fight, not a VC in sight. Starting to feel kind of bugged out, cause every time I get the balls up to get thugged out, they on route. In the morning while taking a tinkle, I heard the lieutenant say that the Viet Cong was in Pinksville. We got the order to slaughter anybody that we didn't think was real, but what that really meant was if they think then they can be killed, but still we was too drugged up and psychotic to feel fear. Started making necklaces with noses and ears, supposedly we're supposed to care about people everywhere but not here, cause Vietnamese people live there with dilated pupils and no scruples. I went into the town, didn't see a single man around, heard a crying sound, panic, pointed and put her down. Bullets poured out just like gravy. She wasn't even holding a gun, it was a baby. Feeling like a bunch of ruthless, crazy fanatics dressed in clone, and back home they call it post-traumatic stress syndrome. We've been chosen, dreams frozen. I forget the rest, but that was a long time ago.
Not one cuss word.
No, yeah, I wrote that long time. I can't even remember that verse. But that was one of the things that, you know, we would learn things in school, turn them into rhymes. And that was the first time, like, I remember I spit that, I recorded that, and it started floating around school. And my teacher, Dan Sheckman, we were at Germantown Friends, Dan Sheckman, he was so proud of me and happy that I turned something he was teaching into a song. And that was probably when I realized for the first time that education makes you a better MC. You know, a lot of people, you know, out here are thinking, you know, I'm going to be an MC, I'm going to do music, but, you know, education will improve your art. You know, no matter what your art is, whether it's, you know, painting or writing or culinary art, an education will teach you more about the world, about your ingredients, about things you can put into your work, and, you know, your overall work product.
What's your stage name? What's your performing name?
My performing name is Apuat. It means opener of the way. It's an ancient Egyptian name that was given to me, and by some brothers, some older dudes. It's also the other word for Apuat is Wepwawet. It's the man with the wolf head. You've probably seen him. Yeah. Some people call him Anubis, but the original way of saying it is Apuat. Opener of the way. So I go by Apuat, and yeah. So when I was in high school, I knew I wanted to be an MC. Actually, I didn't know I wanted to be an MC. I just was an MC because that's what we did for fun. It was never about money. It was never about girls. It was just all the sport. You know, we would go, sometimes I would go to Tyson's house and we would start rapping, or we would rap on the bus or wherever, going to basketball games. But then it was time to graduate from college. I graduated and I applied to 7 schools, I only got into 1, Penn State. So I was like, well, God made it easy for me. I'm going there. I went to Penn State, started studying psychology. I wanted to be a psychologist because my grandmother was a psychoanalyst. And she was a model. She lived in Europe. That's what I thought I wanted to be. So, you know, I still kept doing the music. I had a lot of rap friends in Philly, and really nobody was successful. You know, the only guy that was like semi-successful was Melee Sparks, and he had to go to Europe to make. He was making like a few $100,000 a year in Europe for a while. But you know, as far as that, the only other people I knew from Philly that were doing it were the Roots, and they were putting people on left and right. You know, but that wasn't really. I was too young for them. That wasn't really my generation.
So why didn't they make it, the other entertainers and people that you were talking about?
Different reasons. I mean, some people just let go of the passion. I mean, even now, you know, when I still put out music, you know, and executive produce albums, and I'm the last of the Mohicans. My whole generation, everybody quit. Everybody quit. You know, and I mean, I was looking at a video of Akon the other day, and he was saying, you know, some people just quit too soon. They quit before they make it. And I Wikipedia'd him, and he was 31 when he had his first hit record. He's not, you know, and now he's one of the most successful executives out here. But most people do quit their music professionally before they hit 31 because they feel like it's a young person's game. You know, but some people just quit. Some people got caught up with drugs or had family, and that became their priority. They have children now, so they have to do what they have to do to take care of their children. Or they just didn't make smart business decisions. You know, and I thought to myself, well, how can I give myself a competitive edge in music? And decided that I was going to go to law school. And like, so I applied to law school. I moved to DC. I got into the University of the District of Columbia. And my first day of law school, I hated it. I was so depressed that I wasn't doing my music, that I threw out my bed. Built a sound booth, and slept on the floor. For my whole first year and a half of law school, my room was a construction site, and I was sleeping in the freezing cold, bundled up, on my gristle, you know, living like no other student was living, you know, just because I needed to feed my soul with my passion, with my music. I couldn't let it go. And even now, law is not my passion, but that's probably just because I haven't learned to use it entwined with my passion. And that's something I'm learning how to do now. I'm exercising that now. Would I say that law is giving me an advantage in my music career now? Yes. I would say yes, because I was able to produce a CD, executive produce a CD with some guys. And one of the things we had to do to get this CD together was create a partnership agreement. And I was responsible for that. The three of us, it was me, Apuwat, it was Stone Koala, and Adamatic. Adamatic was a producer living in Los Angeles at the time. He had his own studio. Stone Koala was living in DC. and I was living in DC also, but in a separate house. We all had our own studio. We created the music online and shared a folder, an online folder. So we created the whole album without even being together. And we all played a different role. Stone Koala worked at XM. He was responsible for marketing and branding, building our website, doing the online store. Automatic did all the engineering, all the beats. I did the rhyming, and I did the legal work. So I got our music copywritten, and I did our partnership agreement for our band, so that when the money started rolling in, we knew how to divvy it out. Everyone had their roles defined because we put it down on paper. And we were able to organize our business. You know, a lot of times people, one of the things that hurts a lot of artists in Philly that had a name and that have a name, but weren't able to sustain their passion because they couldn't stick together. And the reason they couldn't stick together was largely because they didn't define their roles, and they didn't define how things were going to break down in the beginning. You got to do that in the beginning so you don't have a falling out. So law has helped my group in that sense, you know. And I'd like to be able to help other artists and other groups and other bands do that without charging, you know, lawyer money, you know. Like, sometimes I barter with people, like, okay, you give me a show, let me open for you, I'll write your contract, or you shoot my music video, and I'll help you with your band agreement, or, you know, you mix down my couple songs, and I'll, like, file a lawsuit on your behalf or something like that. And so I'm able to use the law to barter with people with things that they can do. And right now,
that's a great bargainship.
It's a good bargaining chip. It is. And a lot of people have things to offer but don't have money, especially right now. You know, we are all really in America. We are some of the smartest people on earth. I mean, we might not be as smart as the Chinese, you know, when it comes to math, but creatively, we got it down. I mean, even with a high school diploma, we can go to different villages and countries, third world countries, and be like the mayors and the governors, and just because we know how to create soap, or you know, how to disinfect water, or, you know, things like that. Little stuff. You know, we have a lot of, everybody, I believe that everybody has gifts and has things to offer. And so if we could just figure out ways to communicate our skills and work together, I'm sure we can come up and make it happen. So, I mean, I brought some things here. I'm going to pass around this partnership agreement. And if there's anybody here who wants to, you know, who wants to take it home and use it as a template for their own business that they're working on, you're welcome to do that. And I also have here information on how to protect your music. I was gonna talk about copyrights and mechanical licenses and work for hire, different things that producers and studio owners can do to protect their music on the outset. If you're an artist or a producer and you want to work with somebody on a song, and you have a beat, or they have the beat and you have the lyrics, or you own all the equipment and all the artists are coming in to put down the song and you're paying the light bill, you know, you want to ensure that you have ownership of that music, you don't get gypped, and that they don't get gypped. You want to make sure everything's fair, and you want it to be on paper. If you want to own everything, that is created in your studio, but you're using studio musicians and studio producers, then I recommend that you do what is called a work for hire agreement. It has to be in writing, first and foremost. A work made for hire, I don't want to sit up here and, well, I only want to talk about this if this is what you guys want to hear.
I want to hear everything. Just go ahead.
You guys want to hear that?
Yeah, you good.
Okay. Well, okay, so a work made for hire is determined by the relationship between the parties. So basically what that means is there has to be an employer-employee relationship. And it has to be written down, and the employee has to be getting paid for their time that they're spent creating their music. So if I hire my man over here to come into the studio as a producer to make beats, and I'm paying him money to make me beats, I can't just say that I own these beats. I have to have it in writing. We have to agree on the outset, okay, you are going to be the owner of this music and you paid me for it in advance. Anything that I create belongs to you. Okay? If it's not in writing, that person owns that product, even though they got paid for it. A lot of people don't know that, but it's true. Something that people need to be careful for is when you get your websites designed. And this applies to almost everybody these days has a website. But those web designers own that website unless you put in writing that that creation is yours. You know, we are paying people all the time to create websites. And even the web designers don't even realize half the time that they own that. They own that. That's theirs. You know, so definitely make sure that when you get somebody to design your website, that they, you talk to a lawyer or something and get some type of work for hire agreement written out, drafted out that says that you are the owner of that creation, of that product. So they could take it from you anytime. Okay. So these are some of the things that I've learned that I think are protecting my musical investment, so that when things do pop off, we'll be pretty protected. Now let me go back to the band agreement and why it's so important. It's important if you are a DJ and a rapper or a rock band or whatever your situation is. It's important to have a band agreement for many reasons. First and foremost, you want to define your organizational structure. And what I mean by that is this going to be a sole proprietorship, a partnership? Is it going to be an LLC? Is it a corporation? You want to figure that out. Now what I've learned is the best organization to set up for African American males who are creating a business is an LLC, a limited liability company. That's what you want to set up, because that's going to protect you from lawsuits. That's going to protect when creditors come after your business or somebody sues your business. They're not going to be able to seize your personal assets. They're not going to be able to go after your car or your house or your personal bank account or your wife's money. So you want to have that limited liability company set up. The other reason why that's better than a corporation is you don't get hit with the double taxation. You just get the flow-through taxation on a limited liability company. It also enables you to control who gets to be a member of your company, and you can define what happens upon dissolution of your band. A band agreement is what we're talking about right now. Why it's so important. when the band splits up, who gets to take the name? If do you guys remember the Temptations? When they split up, they had Trevor Ruffin. Remember Trevor Ruffin? He went off, had his he took the name with him, had all new members. Meanwhile, the other 3-4 members of the group were using the Temptations name and doing some whole other thing with it. And even now, there's a group in DC called the Temptations, using the Temptations name. So that's the type of thing you want to have in your partnership agreement at the outset. You know, I mean, I guess typically people think, well, he came up with the idea of the band name, so he gets to have it, but it doesn't necessarily work like that. So you want to write that down in your band agreement at the beginning. You want to write down, of course, who owns the songs, who owns the recordings, what the percentage is, who's contributing what, who's contributing the keyboards, who's contributing the guitars, who's contributing the drum set, who's contributing capital, who's contributing flyers, who has the hookup at the venue. You know, all these things are worth something, and it needs to be written down. Who's bringing in value? You know, and value is services, it's equipment, it's cash, and it, you know, most importantly, it's your time and effort. You want to have all your roles defined in your band agreement at the beginning. You want to know, well, what happens if somebody dies, and then the record pops off? Okay, what happens with that money? Is it the honor system? I mean, think about what happened to Big Pun. When Big Pun died, basically his family didn't get anything. And Joey Craig gets a bad rap for not taking care of Big Pun's family. And I'm sure Joey has done some things, but in reality, if Pun had a better agreement in place that specified where he wanted his money to go, his family would be way more well off than they are now. And they wouldn't be on XXL every year, you know, talking about it. You want to talk about your manager. Who gets to choose the manager? Who makes the band decisions, the big decisions for the band? Is it going to be a vote? Does it have to be a consensus? All of these things need to go inside of your band agreement at the beginning. Let's see, what else? Now, hiring a good lawyer is a good idea. In reality, every band member should have their own lawyer, but that gets really expensive. So the only other option is you get one lawyer and you sign, you know, a release form, you know, that a conflict of interest waiver that says, you know, we waive any conflict of interest, and, you know, this lawyer is going to be the lawyer for the entire group. You know, but you also have to keep in mind that there has to be an equal percentage of ownership when that happens. So if 4 guys are in the same group and you have one lawyer helping out the whole group, that means that every person in the group has to have equal ownership of the product. You know, if there's one guy with 75% ownership of the product, then obviously the lawyer is going to have to favor him in making all the decisions, and that's not lawful. What else do I want to help? What else do I want to talk to you guys about? Well, anyway, I just say all of this to say that these are some of the things that we used in putting together the Trees Hip Hop album and our band, and it's really worked for us. Are any of you guys musicians? Yeah? What's your situation like? What's your name?
Max.
Max?
Yeah, that's my stage name, man.
Are you a solo artist?
Yeah.
Do you have like mixtapes out?
I got a mixtape out. It's called Radio Ready.
Okay. Are all the beats original beats, or
they original beats, but no paperwork was ever filed.
who made the beats?
I got most of them from one producer. They named Tay and Mall. And then I found a few other ones on the internet. But I'm not really like selling them like that.
Right. And the ones on the internet, do you know, like, are you able to even track where they came from? Can you find those producers?
I think like one of them.
Right.
Yeah, I got how many tracks? I think like 13, 14.
Okay.
And 10 of them was made by this one guy, Tay and Mall.
Okay.
So there's two guys in the group.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in reality, when you're starting off, put the music out. You just get it out there. You know, sometimes a lawsuit is a good thing for business. You know, because sometimes, like, let's say you steal a beat from Dr. Dre, it blows up. Now all of a sudden you can get publicity because you're being sued by Dr. Dre. You know, that could be good for business. You know, so I don't want to say don't protect yourself, but if there is something that you really take pride in and that you know, you want to make sure that it's protected and owned, then there's a lot of copyright rules that you want to think about. A lot of people don't realize that as soon as you create a record, as soon as you lay down vocals on a recording, on any tangible medium, it's copywritten right in that instant. So you don't have to like mail yourself anything. If you can just prove that you laid something down on a tangible medium before anyone else, then you can prove that in a court of law that your stuff is copywritten. So like, if you have a computer or a hard drive, usually those files are dated and time-stamped. You're pretty much covered. I mean, there are some additional rights that come from sending yourself to Washington. The main one being you can't enforce your exclusive right. You can't sue somebody in court until your music is registered in Washington. You know, so you definitely have to do that before you sue someone. But you know, technically your stuff is copywritten. You're the only one who has the right to create a derivative of that work. You're the only one who has the right to perform it. You're the only one who has the right to distribute it, make copies of it, and all of that. So, you know, do you guys have any? Yeah.
What kind of copyright? Is it like an SR sound recording or?
Sound? Yeah, that'll work. Have you filed any copyright forms?
Not because I didn't. Because like I said, I ain't signed no paperwork with beats. So, but could I do it? Like get the sound recording copyright?
Yeah, you can do it all yourself. You can definitely do it. Here's what I use. I use this book. It's called The Permission Seeker's Guide Through the Legal Jungle. Clearing copyrights, trademarks, and other rights for entertainment and media productions is by Joy Butler. She's an entertainment attorney in D.C. This book is very easy to use, and you know, you're more than welcome to look at it. And you know, if you have like anything that you want to do yourself, this is a very good guide, and I recommend it to everyone. There's another book I use. This book is called All You Need to Know About the Music Business by Donald Passman. And it's not really true that this is all you need to know about the music business. Because the reality is the music business has changed. And it changes every day. And like I was just talking to my man Tyson, who works here at BlackandNobel. I'm about to come out with my own book called There's No One Way to Make It.
That's right.
You know, because there really isn't. I mean, you definitely have to put the work in. You definitely have to grind. That's probably the most important thing. You have to show forth your works. Not be scared to share your works with the world. You have to have favor by God. You know, you have to have relationships with people. And I think that's probably the most important thing is your relationships, your ability to work with people who are evil. I mean, I don't want to say evil, but you know, we all are evil a little bit, you know, but we're good too. You have to be able to forgive. You have to have this attitude where you can work with people you don't want to work with, you know, and really you get rewarded for being able to be that fluid, you know. And I think that a lot of young people, we don't get to learn that until we're much older, you know, and I think that hinders a lot of our success. So it helps. It helps. I would recommend that any artist find an OG, you know, find an older cat who's been on the grind for a long time. Even if they're not successful, we still have things to learn from them about life, about business, because they've made mistakes and they don't want you to make the same mistakes. So don't just, you know, run up to somebody because they're flashy and they're looking sharp. And, you know, I mean, you can learn from the guy who doesn't have all of that, you know. And then a lot of times the guys that are flashy and looking sharp really don't care about people anyway, because they made it already. And I think what happens when a lot of people are very successful for a long period of time, their perception of life becomes a little bit distorted. They can become a little bit overconfident, a lot overconfident, and they could, you know, a lot of people, they come from oppressed situations, make it for a long time, and then before they know it, they look back and they're the oppressor now. And they're like, wow. They didn't even see it until some young cat comes up and humbles them, you know? So I think a lot of success in music and business and law, whatever it is, has a lot more to do with personal growth and things of that nature than it really does, you know. But I guess I came here to talk about law, so that's what I have to say. You know, lawyers are important. We play a role. We definitely can help you guys with things. We can help get certain things done, but it's not going to be the thing that determines your success. You know, Meek Mill and his crew were not lawyers. And not to say that that's, you know, the crew that is the iconic crew, but, you know, they were just out there grinding. They had a brotherhood that was hustling, and they stuck together and they worked hard and they built that buzz, and people got behind them. You know, I think there's something to be said about having a group of brothers working together toward one purpose that, you know, does a lot. You know, so my name is Elijah Mckinley. It's been a pleasure to be here with you at the BlackandNobel bookstore. Shout out to my man Tyson.
I want to hear some music.
Okay, we can listen to some music. Yes. Can you put it on?
Sound man. That was excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah, pass your paperwork. Did you get your questions answered? I know you had a whole bunch of questions.
Yeah, if you guys need anything, talk to me now. I'll definitely help you, no charge. I'm definitely licensed to practice law here in the city. So I can give you legal advice on anything you want to talk about.
So you said, like, with my situation, even though I got the paperwork with the producers of the beats, they original beats.
Just put it on.
They original beats, and I can still get a sound recording, copyright.
The original. I would recommend that you send the whole CD to Washington. You only have to pay one fee,
like $35,
if you
right?
put all the records on one CD. But actually, they need 2 copies. It's like $50. But I would say put all your music, all your old stuff, all your new stuff, because even if you reuse those lyrics on another album or another beat later on, the lyrics will be copywritten, and that's what matters to you, is that your lyrics are there. But you know, I would just say right now, just keep on grinding, just keep on working, keep putting the music out there. But the second you start making some money, the first thing you probably want to get is an accountant. And the second thing you want to get is a lawyer. You know, because once you're making money, that's when people want to sue you. People want to rob you. And lawyers, most lawyers are like, they're like thieves. You know, lawyers, a lot of lawyers are like thieves. They're all about, most of them are all about the money. Most of them, and that's why it's like crazy for a guy like me who's a lawyer to even be standing here today in the bookstore with you guys. It's like, whoa, we got a lawyer coming out to talk about music law? That never happens. Why? Because they're all out there trying to get paid. You know, and they don't, you know, I do it because, I mean, I want to get paid too, but I have a passion for music. I'm an artist. You know, so I relate to all you guys as artists because that's really what I am at heart. You know, so I will leave this podium and go to the studio with you guys and jam all night, you know, and love it. So, yeah.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Miss Marty's, then I went to Houston Public School, then I went to Levering, then I went to Shawmont. Those are all like Roxborough public schools in Roxborough. Then I went to Germantown, France for high school.
Gotcha.
And then I went to, which is like a Quaker school.
Yeah.
Then I went to Penn State.
Penn State.
Then I went to the David A. Clark School of Law in Washington, D.C.
Under, so David A. Clark is?
He's a council member. He was a council member, but that's a part of the University of District of Columbia.
Right. So the school is, that's Howard?
That's across the street from Howard's Law School on Connecticut Avenue.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So the school you went to is David A. Clark School of Law.
David A. Clark School of Law. That's where I went. It's a social justice school.
Gotcha.
So, and it's the cheapest law school in the United States.
So you got an LLM or JD?
I got a JD. Then and my whole reason for going to law school was I wanted an advantage in the rap game.
Gotcha.
To be honest, that's what I wanted. And I had gotten arrested in high school. My last month of high school, I was arrested. There was a whole bunch of us in a car. We had a whole bunch of weed, and I got pinned for all of it. And you know, I went through the the AARD program,
right, for
first-time offenders, and it got expunged. And then my dad at the time, my stepdad, had sent me to Europe. So I was in Europe that whole summer. While I was on probation, I was in Italy and Spain and meeting people. I was meeting these African people and who could not, they escaped Africa to live as homeless people in Europe because life was better than it was in Somalia, where bullets was like breathing air and they couldn't go to the marketplace. And here they are getting chased around by military police and hustling and sending what little bit they make back home. And I'm sitting here drinking with them, hanging out. Then I get on a plane, come back to Philly, go to a Buju Banton concert, and it just hit me. It was like, yo, I am a free man. I can go, I have a passport, I can go to any country I want. I'm not gonna do anything to jeopardize my freedom again. I was like, so I'm not going to buy weed ever again. I'm not, you know, I just made that decision. I was like, I'm not going to do these things because I realized that the freedoms we have as Americans are so amazing. I mean, there's people, they would murder you for your passport. You know, they will murder you for a passport.
What's your undergrad degree from Penn State?
My undergrad degree was psychology.
Psychology, okay.
It's all psychology. That goes together.
Yeah, it was psychology.
Got you.
And then I went to law school, and then after that I came back to Philly, took the bar here in PA because that's where my family was.
Right.
And at the same time I was passing the bar, my album came out. Then we went on like a tour up and down the East Coast. Then I went out to LA for a few months, and you know, came back, hurt, crying. You know what I mean?
Right.
Got my strength back up, and you know, now it's time to go back at life, man.
One quick thing, in terms of financing, you just did your project.
Yeah.
How did you go about financing it?
Well, we did different things. I mean, the production aspect of it was basically free, because everyone involved in the project, there was 3 of us. We all had our own studio.
Okay.
So I would lay down, and my studio was basically a vocal booth, a vocal studio. I had a really banging mic, a really banging sound booth.
Got you.
So that's where we laid our vocals. The other guy, he was an engineer, a professional studio engineer. So he engineered the whole album, and the other guy was makes music. He's a beat maker, so he made the beats. And so the whole album is produced. It's a very, very high quality album. Then on top of that, we each had our own professional degrees. So I was the lawyer, so we didn't have to pay anybody to put our stuff together on a legal aspect. The other dude, he was in the marketing. He did marketing for a living and brand development for XM Radio. So he was able to set all of our stuff up online. And then the engineer was also into setting up distribution for acts in LA.
Okay.
So we each had a musical contribution, but we also each had a professional contribution that enabled us to put this album out and create kind of an independent splash with very little financing.
So you guys got a distribution deal? He said.
Yeah.
Like
We had a distribution deal.
you like Dick Murphy or somebody, Sony.
No, we did it through, I think, what was it? I want to say TuneCore.
Okay. All right. TuneCore.
I think it maybe
Okay,
was
so you did it
TuneCore.
Okay.
But distribution is very easy to get nowadays. I mean, you can call up Island Def Jam, and they'll give you a free online distribution deal.
Online.
You know, they won't give you physical distribution. I think the only way you really get physical distribution is if you have basically a radio promotion. If you can get like a label to promote your music on the radio and on television, then you know you can very easily find somebody to distribute your records physically in the regions that it's being promoted. And that's really what you need labels for nowadays. The only thing you really need a label for is for airtime, television time, and booking opportunities. You know, because everything else we can do ourselves now. I mean, you can find an intern who does publicity, that can write, that would gladly work for your band and send that stuff out to, you know, all the magazines and things like that. You can produce your own music because it's so cheap to create studios now. You know, you can produce your own music. You can do your own artwork. I mean, finances. The other thing about finances that helps when being a lawyer is people trust you more with their money. So I can go around, you know, if like I have a tight business plan and everything's set up, and if I have like a record label liaison, somebody at a record label who's willing to push some buttons and say, hey Eli, you know, we'll get your stuff on air, we'll get you booked at a few places. Okay, well if I can get that on paper as a part of my marketing plan, and I have all the other elements in place, then I can talk to some people. I can talk to real estate developers and doctors and people I went to law school with and store owners and, you know, and get $1,000 here, $4,000 there, and finance a deal, you know. And it doesn't take that much money to finance a successful music business these days. It really doesn't. I mean, you think about it, Drake, it cost him about $100K. It cost Jay-Z the exact same thing to do Reasonable Doubt in the 90s, $100K. But the economy is completely different now. So $100K in the 90s was worth way more than it is now, you know. But I think, you know, and Drake is like a superstar, you know. But you could probably launch an album and be successful and make money, you know, for $40K, for $50K, $40K, maybe even $30K, if you have the pieces lined up, the ducks in order, and your relationships are intact, you know. So there's definitely ways to make it happen, you know.
Gotcha. In terms of you guys that you so your is-bin and all that stuff, you guys just nickel and dime, put your money, the three of you guys put your money together and did all that stuff.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we didn't make much money,
I hear you.
You know, but we did get our stuff out there. We do
Right.
have a core fan base. We didn't break even yet, you know, but we will.
Yeah.
You know, and it's good to have your first product out and done with,
Right.
and out there, and work on another one. That was a group project. So, yeah.
How long you been doing it?
Hip hop.
What was this group down that you've been working with?
With the group, I only started working with them while I was in law school. Cause I was like, I told the story before, I was so depressed I turned my bedroom into a studio, slept on the floor while I was in law school, you know, painting at night, studying at the day. We worked on the whole album while I was there. And
How long ago was that though, you saying?
that was like a year ago. So probably been with them like 3 years. The only downside to being with the group, well, I mean, the sum of the parts creates a better whole every time.
Right.
You know, what's it called? Synergy. The synergistic efforts of everybody involved creates a bigger, better project than any one particular person can do on their own. Here comes the music on right now. Can you turn it up a little bit? Yeah.
You've been waiting for something hip hop through a new door. We guarantee that you all never heard styles like this before. The way that I manipulate the bar, we are get raw and lyrical over topics that are spiritual. Black MCs getting shine and irritable. Some witness a living miracle in action. Our rap been built for certain form satisfaction, but real. We're spitting on the real. The plush flow is just all the puts you on your gills. We just busting a little something of an introduction so that you cop when we conducting a rap fanatic. It's traumatic how brothers be beating off and listening to trees like some heroin addicts. Charismatic and I'm barely at it. In a year they'll be pointing out our bad habits. We don't.
That's me rhyming.
Okay.
The dude from LA, he did all of that crazy stuff, the effects, you know? Yeah.
We on fire 8 days a week, like Hanukkah. My brotherhood be rocking do-rags like yarmulkes.
We be in more trees than monkeys. stopping trees, especially not cops and Billy. I really hate silly fake people who don't feel shit.
So what's the next step?
So,
And with this album?
with this album, the next step is sending it out to radio stations, sending it out to bloggers, people who will review the album, talk about us. They'll come visit our websites, increase our social media exposure. You know, that's how we're gonna do it, man. We just and the other thing I want to say to you guys, don't let. I don't really know how to say this, but don't let people stop your flow. Look, you may not know what you're doing, but your motivation, your inspiration to just walk out the door is more than what somebody else is gonna do for you. You know, somebody else might have a title or some office or some power that you need, but you know, chasing after that person is just gonna hurt your spirit and slow you up. You know, you're gonna get more done by just doing whatever you feel inspired to do that day for your music. You know, and then I also think that as a man, if you're a spiritual brother and you have that right spirit, you definitely gotta watch out for the ladies, because they don't mean it. They don't mean it, but they will try to, you know, some of them will try to
Power the vagina.
Yes, they'll try, not only that, but they'll try to take your spirit, you know. They'll try to take your spirit. They'll, if you're a brother, you gotta watch out for some white women who really still have this old school slave master mentality where they want you as property. You know, they want you to be under them. You might be a millionaire. You could be, you know, it's like the what's it called? The $40 million athlete, $40 million slave. There's a book called $40 Million Slave about athletes.
It's right over there.
It's over there?
It's right there, right behind Tyson.
There it is. $40 Million Slave by William Ridden. You know, well, basically this talks about millionaires who are controlled. Their lives are controlled. Their personal lives are controlled by people who own them. You know, and there's people who will try to own you even before you make any money. You know, and they don't mean it. They don't even realize what they're doing. It's just embedded deep in their subconscious, and it's embedded in our subconscious to fall into it. You know, so definitely got to be careful with it. Yeah, man. So definitely keep tuning into the Black and Nobel bookstore. Brothers and sisters out there, learn as much as you can. I'm trying to learn as much as I can. We're all brothers. We're all still being developed. We all, you know, hey, we all make mistakes. We gotta forgive each other. We gotta keep growing. We gotta keep learning from one another and coming up together and sticking together and not letting things stop our love. Keep letting the love flow. Don't worry about people who don't love you back. Keep loving them anyway, because your love defines you, keeps you inspired. You keep on rocking. My name is Elijah Mckinley, Apple Watt from thetreeshiphop.com. Shout out to everybody out there. God bless.
Can we get a hook? Can we get a rhyme? Can we get something?
A full song, yeah. Which one you want me to pull back?
Alright, let me see. Where we at?
Get it in. Turn it up louder, please.
Okay.
Black people love bass.
So yeah, it's been
like
nice.
that when I was just
Definitely
playing.
nice to meet you all.
It's great. You were great. You were great.
Alright, so this
You got a
track
card?
right, huh?
You got a card?
Yeah, I got cards.
I see that book you recommended, that first one.
This one. It's younger like this. Yo, I'm the livest brother riding, the highest brother flying. For years I've been dying and dying, cause I've been trying and trying. Realized that I can't do it myself and started crying. Tears pouring on the floor, pleading on the Lord to have my back in this rap venture. Send me your mentor to show me how to censor my environment to keep my man pure. I'm thanking Jesus for showing us how to redeem a bull through all the evil that he endured. And now I'm pleading for the same spirit so we can pull more brothers like the ones that I'm speaking for. Filling this teardrop, weekends turn vegan. I ashy black brothers who once pop, running the shop, still smoking on pot, but his heart in a good spot. My man's used to steal, now he giving a lot. Yes, a man can change his way. Yeah, he just has to grow. A man can change, y'all. Word.
Alright.
You know what I mean? Waiting for the red line, morning time, headed to the J.O., feeling like I'm zip tied. I wanna fly away with dreams on me tough, do all the things that I feel that I miss, and believe me it hits my brain and heart like a fist. I think I'll take a couple years and cross some things on my list. I'm trying to travel a bit, 9 countries, man, I ain't seen shit. Cali miss, making money legit, getting brain in the cockpit and rocking them concerts, eliminate nonsense on time and responsive, no internal conflict, man. I'm at peace with the way the beast does what it's shocking. Unlocking the way, matrix keep making crusades. I'm patient, able to resist what I crave. I maintain David Blaine, I don't play. He's on camera, move the building with, yeah. What? A man can change. Yeah, a man can change, y'all. What? He just has to grow. A man can change. A man can change, y'all. BlackandNobel bookstore. Why? Take you through my younger days so we can come to understand how a man can change his ways. I began having sex for days in the 11th grade. That continued on through Penn State. I never been afraid of or respected authority, being U.S.'s most neglected minority. Living up to that end was my priority. Spit every day, smoke blunt, cypher at parties. Music became a part of me. Beats and herb all in my arteries. Daughter, please pardon me. I would have been successful sooner if I wasn't so selfish and such a consumer. My man's put me on a Jumba. My other man told me how God will use you to practice the art of brotherhood. You can outmaneuver your own ego, cause that's what will ruin you. Pick up the trees, man can change. Word. Yeah, absolutely.
Samples and colors?
Absolutely.
I'm a memory copy.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Free copies
Changes every day.
for everybody.
Oh, yay!
And you got preference on what's that? Performance right organization? Or they all about the same?
ASCAP or BMI.
They all about the
Oh, they all about
same.
I roll with ASCAP. That shit was almost no reason.
How do you like, since you're saying like a majority of lawyers, I mean, I know you're trying to get money or whatnot, what's your best bet when you have that do it? Like what's the best strategy, let's say, for instance, if you set up like a corporation or business, like to get a good lawyer is really trying to help you versus trying to, you know.
Oh, you're trying to find a lawyer?
No, I'm just saying, like in general, I'm in sports.
What's good steps on finding the right lawyer or attorney for you and your situation?
Or agent.
Or agent.
Yeah, you said sports.
What sport are you in?
Fighting.
Boxing?
Yeah.
I can recommend somebody for you.
Really?
Yeah. I
That's
went
why
to law
I
school.
asked him to
I went to
come
law
because-
school with this cat named Lawrence Shabaki, who works for Seth Mitchell. You know Seth Mitchell?
Yeah, I know him, the heavyweight. I know what that
Right. Right. My man Lauren, I'll introduce you to him. He loves working with fighters. I think your best bet is to find somebody who really gives a shit about people. And that's hard. That is the hardest part, man. Because everybody else, you know, like, everybody else is just stay out for themselves, man. If you can find somebody that really cares about you, go with that person. Even if they don't, you know, have all the credentials or all the history, if they're motivated to rock with you, and you know, I think the best thing is when you rock with somebody, when somebody gets down with you, when you have nothing, when they have nothing, but they're just committed. Because that's the person that they're gonna do so much more for you in the long run. They'll never steal from you, and they'll protect you. Because you need protection more than just law. I mean, you need protection from
culture,
everything. You might need protection from your own family. You know, you're gonna need somebody that really cares about you in your corner. I think it's good to have an old head, maybe a old school trainer. You know, somebody that's retired. Bring them out of retirement. You know, go to these gyms, ask around, look for an OG that's like, you know, maybe used to work with, you know, Joe Frazier. Somebody who worked with Joe Frazier that's done with boxing. I'm sick of it. I hate it. It did me wrong. It did me dirty. You know, but I say you get an OG. You need a trainer. You need a manager. You know, and then like maybe an assistant, somebody with a college education that can write really good, that's into like social media and publicity and things like that. Somebody who could develop, can mobilize media, so whenever you fight, you have people there to interview you, and you know they can set up phone calls so you're taking interviews over the phone. They'll do that for you even before you're really successful. You know, if you just have,
they need content.
Yeah, you get somebody just to create that buzz around you. That's what, you know, that'll help. You know, if it's like a passionate trainer, which you probably already have. And,
so you, in your position right now, the position that you're in, I should say, what type of clients are you looking? A, are you looking for clients? B, what type of clients are you looking for that you would like to have? And like what type of criteria would you want to know?
I'm looking for, I have a personal goal and purpose that I'm trying to achieve. And I'm really looking for, but I also hustle, use law as like a hustle, you know, so I'll give people big breaks for any type of work that they need done. Or any type of consulting, or any type of, especially in the music industry, because that's really my forte. You being in sports, I could definitely connect you with somebody though. But I don't want to turn away, you know, what you may have to offer either. You know what I mean? But whatever your situation is, we can talk about it. If I can't help you, I'll find somebody who can. Okay. But like any musician, any band that's trying to do their thing, I'm interested in having a relationship with you, and I'm interested in building, I'm interested in learning from them, I'm interested in sharing my knowledge. If anything is too like time consuming, then it might have to have a $ on it, or a barter, you know, which might mean cook me some food. You know, cook me some food, because I'm not that good of a cook.
Hey!
Yeah, I think so.
So, all right, since we're, you know, this is like on camera, and other people are going to be seeing this later, to get at you, in which I think people need to know what's the proper way to approach a lawyer or attorney, and you in particular.
Well,
because, you know, I'm not trying to open the door for the floodgates to open up and every Joe Blow get you, but I know that you, like you said, you have a personal goal, so I'm trying to get your criteria. Wonder Feather says he teaches his customers how to be his customers. So I'm trying to teach people how to be your client.
Okay, well, I think that if you want to talk to me about music, about business, about law, then shoot me. Well, first of all, look me up on the internet. Type in my name, Elijah Mckinley, ElijahMckinley. Check out my YouTube videos. There's bunches of them. Check out my LinkedIn resume, so you can learn about who I am, things that I've done, and then email me at ElijahMckinley@gmail.com. You can also friend me on Facebook if you want, and we'll just open up a dialogue, a discussion. I welcome everybody into my life. I wish to be a blessing in everybody's life, personally and professionally, and so we can just, if I can't do anything for you, maybe I know somebody who can, and maybe there's something you have inside of you that I need, or something, or a connection that I need from you. So, let's just start it off with this communication.
And if they see you off of this video, make sure you let them know that they came from here, that you heard it from here.
That's right. That's right.
You got your law from BlackandNobel.
Let them know. Say it if you heard it from if you heard it off this video. Make sure you say that you heard it off.
You want to know what honestly brought me to this store?
Tell us.
Nas. Nas was in this store. Looking at these books. And so I was like, oh snap. The spirit, that's the right kind of spirit. And then I came in here and I seen people I know that I've been rocking with since I was a kid. And I was like, whoa. And then there was a b-boy battle.
Yes, it was.
So, and the books are lovely. I think I bought like 4 books. Great bookstore.
What books do you recommend us to order for the people right now?
Man,
because I'm really trying to get more people to give their book lists when they come.
The number one book that this store has to pick up for everybody is called The African American Entrepreneur by William Sherman Rogers. He is a law professor at Howard University, at the University of District of Columbia. He's also a stockbroker, and he's a millionaire. And he teaches for fun. He's fun. He's like one of those people that just have that infectious spirit, and he can write. And that book, what it does is it talks about African American entrepreneurs from slavery to now, and how throughout all time there's always been a handful of African Americans who have been able to do very, very well no matter the circumstances. And it talks about, of course, the things that were against our people making it, all the disenfranchisement, the bombings, everything. And then it goes all the way up to today's millionaires and billionaires, the athletes, the musicians. And then there's another section of the book that has all of the forms that you need to go to the Small Business Association and get your loans. It talks about how to set up your will. It talks about, all that stuff. He gives you everything, all the tools you need to make it as a businessman, and he gives you the history of the African American struggle of entrepreneurship that inspires you to know that you can do it, that you are going to do it, and that you just have to make the decision today to do it without the resources. Do it anyway. Even though you don't have the money, do it anyway. Even though you don't have the nice artwork on your CD, sell it anyway. and just go.
What was the author's name again?
Sherman Rogers, William Rogers. I read his book. That book changed my life.
Would you also recommend the one from the commission, the one you showed us earlier?
Yeah, there's a lot of good books in here.
Yes.
I recommend The Permission Seeker's Guide Through the Legal Jungle by Joy Butler.
Okay. Very good.
Those two. What else? What other books do I really recommend? Oh, there's a book called On Success. It's called On Success. It's not written by an African American though. But this book is popping. It's called On Success. It's by William T. Munger.
I get one of those.
The business card.
William T. Munger. Munger. M-U-N-G-E-R. Do you guys know who he is? William T. Munger is, do you know who Warren Buffett is?
Yes.
William T. Munger is Warren Buffett's chief advisor. So any problems that Warren Buffett has, he calls William Munger. And William wrote a book called On Success. It's very small, and it's a compilation of the speeches that he's given at colleges. And that book is amazing. That book is amazing. It talks about some deep stuff. He's a spiritual person, and it talks about how every single one of us has a purpose in life, a serious purpose in life. And it talks about how there are very powerful forces trying to stop each one of us from doing what we have to do. And then it just has some impressions on there that prevent you from falling down traps that most people fall down. You know, like one of the things he would say is, if you want to fail, what does he say? I don't remember it. I don't remember it by heart. I need to go back and read the book myself.
Well, they're gonna have to go out and get it to find out.
Definitely go out and get that. On Success by William T. Munger. Definitely get William T. Rogers. William Rogers. Sherman Rogers. Sherman Rogers. African American entrepreneur. It's a great book.
Earlier you had said about 40 grand to be good from to push a project. Could you break down how it would have spent on, like where that 40 grand?
Well, I would do my own production, so I wouldn't pay for that. I would either partner with somebody who owns a studio or a producer, produce all the music ourselves. Maybe spend some money on mastering if you know the album is going to get on the radio. Probably need to do that. I would shoot a high quality music video, but I wouldn't spend like the industry budget on doing it. I would just rent a really nice camera or borrow a really nice camera and shoot a video because some, a lot of these videos, if you think about The Wire, Kanye West's video The Wire, half of that video was camcorder, a straight up camcorder. So you can like put videos up, they'll even put videos on TV that aren't super high quality, depending on how you flip it. You're gonna have to flip it so it's creative. But
good. How about good?
Yeah, good. Yeah. But I mean, I would say the whole artistic team, you want to partner. You want to partner with somebody who does videos. You want to partner with a producer, and they want to partner with you as an artist. So those things you really want to keep your costs low by doing them yourself. If you can get the money and you have a record label liaison, somebody who has a relationship with a record label, be it Def Jam or Warner Brothers or Interscope or Rough House or whichever the ones are even around here, then you can pay them and they'll get your stuff spun. They'll get you your airtime. They'll get you, they'll get you booked on a tour. And that's really what you need. You need to get booked. You need your airtime.
That's what.
But you can also call radio stations yourself now and say, hey, I'll purchase an advertisement if you spin my record. Because they're hurting for cash these days, and they need people buying advertisements. So what I would do is actually I would set up a show. I would spend my money on the show, and then I would call the radio station and I would say, I want to buy an ad. I want to buy an ad about my event. And in exchange for buying the ad, I want to be able to come on the show and spit, and I want you to spin my record all month or all week. Talk to the program director directly, just like that. That's what I would do. That's what I would do with that money. Do it myself in my city. That's what I would do with the money.
Makes sense.
Get on that radio. If you can get on. I mean, Cosmic Kev, he puts rappers on, but a lot of times, he doesn't. A lot of times he'll say, you got to pay me 40 G's if you want to get on my show, or 10 G's. I mean, I've heard the stories. No dissing on Cosmic Kev, but that's the reality. Is a lot of these guys are charging an arm and a leg.
It's not just Kev. We don't put it out there.
It's not just Kev. It's not. It's Backcade. It's all of the radio stations. It's everywhere.
I was 15 years in radio. I've seen it plenty of times.
Yes.
And that's why
all
I'm
the
not in it
stations.
Anymore,
in fact, Kev is probably the one that's kindest in a sense, because he's put on so many rappers. Really, but you can contact a what is it called, program director, and offer to buy an ad, and they'll let you get on the radio, for sure, and put your money in your event. You can't do everything yourself, so maybe you want to hire an event planner or a promoter. Relationships are the most important thing. Like Jay-Z never would have made it if he didn't have a team. And Dame Dash was his party promoter. That's what his bread and butter was at first, was just throwing parties. He knew how to throw parties. And Biggs was bringing the finances, and Jay was rhyming. And that three was able to launch his whole career. It was a beautiful thing. So if you could partner with somebody who throws parties, I mean that I don't think that's my gift.
That's what Run.
I can't do everything.
Run used to throw parties. That's how he started managing.
Who?
Run.
Run.
I mean, whatchamacallit? Not Run, but
Jam Master J?
no, they had Def Jam.
Russell
started throwing parties, and he had a couple artists that he would throw parties for so they could perform.
Right.
And then everybody wanted to get in on his parties, and that's how he started Russia the Thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a gift in and of itself. Being able to organize and pull people together is a gift. So, here's the other thing I want to say. A dream comes by a multitude of business. So we're all dreamers, but without business, we're not going to be successful. And an artist is usually not, for the most part, artists aren't good businessmen. And business is an art form of itself. So, it behooves us all as artists to partner with somebody who is a natural business person, natural entrepreneur.
That thinks outside the box.
Yeah, I mean, Common is a great artist, but he would not be Common without his manager, Derek Dudley. Jay-Z would not I mean, Jay-Z was a hustler. I think Jay-Z is probably one of those few artists that is a good businessman. You know?
Yeah.
Now. But he still had Dame doing his business back then. And Biggie had Puffy, you know. Biggie was a hardcore artist, but he didn't know anything about business. You know what I mean? So you definitely, a dream comes by a multitude of business. So you got to get with somebody that's about that, about marketing, about pulling people together. Richard Branson is like the owner of Virgin Records and the airline, and he's got space shuttles going to outer space, taking people to outer space to see Earth from up there. He's got underwater activity. He's got all kind of things going on. The dude is a straight dreamer, you know, but he's a businessman, you know. And so we have to get with our business people, for sure. That's what I know. That's what I need.
Could you break down the different types of royalty checks? Like what you got, like mechanical and
yeah, I can break that stuff down. I have it all in this book here. Let's see. Here we go. There's a lot to it. You know. Let's see. Foreign royalties. Record deal. Here we go. Songwriter royalties, printed music royalties, mechanical royalties from publishing. These are some different sources of incomes. Public performance royalties. You know, if you want, you can. Do you have an iPhone?
no. That's Passman book, right?
Yeah, this is a different book. If you want, like, I can take pictures of these pages and text them to you. And
What's
you
the name of the book?
This is called Everything You Need to Know About the Music Business.
And you're going to update that book, am I right?
Well, I'm going to write a different book. I'm going to call it.
No, you're not.
Yes,
No,
he is.
no.
No,
You gonna
no.
tell us?
Yes, he is.
I'm going to write a book. I already started writing a book called There's No One Way to Make It.
Okay.
Called what?
There's no one way to make it. Yeah. That's what I'm working on.
How important is the collection agencies and the publishing company nowadays?
Well, it's very important once you're successful. You know, once your music is playing on the radio, it's very important. Because they're the only ones with the reach to find out who's playing your record. They've got contracts with all these places that are paying them in advance. Yeah, you definitely need that.
So, if, for instance, if you only, or let's say you're just selling your record online and things like that, would it be to your benefit to join Harry Fox or something?
Not at that level, but actually, I mean, it's such a low cost to join them. I would say just do it, because who knows? You know, you might fall into a licensing situation where you do have money coming in. I have a company called Affix that works in Atlanta, and what they do is they find music that sounds similar to, like, so let's say you're a reggae artist and they've got people who are looking for music for their commercials. That's music that sounds like Bob Marley. They don't want to buy Bob Marley's music because it's too expensive. So they'll go through their catalog of independent artists that sound like Bob Marley, you know? And you never know when you'll get that call like, hey, we used your music and we're collecting that, you know, that royalty check and handling that deal for you. So you want to have your ASCAP in place for situations like that. You know, you're going to be setting up your Pandora. You can get your stuff played on Pandora and different internet radio stations. It helps to just go ahead and set it up. A lot of these companies need your ASCAP information before they put your music out. So,
yeah. Is there a check? Do you have a checklist like of all the things you should do? You know, when you're setting it all up, you got a checklist or something like that?
I don't have a checklist. I mean, maybe, you know.
In the book.
No, I mean I don't really have a checklist because there's no one way to make it.
Gotcha.
You know, I mean, you could look. There's people who grinded forever to make it, like the Roots, and then there's people who had a YouTube sensation and blew up, and then there's somebody whose demo just fell in the right hands and got picked up. Then there's somebody who was just born into it because their daddy was someone or their mom was someone, you know. But I would just say, like, whatever you're inspired to do, do it. And I would definitely recommend that you as a musician connect with an entrepreneur who loves your music or who believes in you. You know, because they're creative. They're creative people. They'll have their checklist. They'll have their plan set out for how they're going to blow you up.
Gotcha.
Right.
You know, and there's no one plan that works, but a plan is important. I realized that, man. Because even coming out here today was a creation. It was Tyson's creation. Really. Tyson saw something in me. He said, Eli, I'm going to bring you out here to speak to these people. If this didn't happen, I'd be doing something else. You know, and I'm glad I came out today.
You came out too.
You know, but that was a creation. Yeah.
But we want to do this
Never
again.
give up.
We are going to do this
Right.
again. So you might as well go ahead and plug your next one. We don't know what date
Right off the Barnary sub-stop, Philadelphia, PA. Shot so loud you would think it was a club spot. African Americans, although we all over the web, we the hood librarians. We ship to prisons too. We reach out and deliver to those that's bitten too, but it's more than a bookstore. You want it, we got it. Mixtapes, DVDs, and culture products. Black